Hey, what's going on? Taha Photo here. So what defines a fleeting moment? And how do we know if and when it's coming? But most of all, how do we transcend our photos from good to great? Today I want to talk about gesture. All right, so let's look up the definition of gesture. A movement, usually of the body or limbs, that expresses or emphasizes an idea, sentiment, or attitude. Nice. And number 2 here, the use of motions of the limbs or body as a means of expression. Cool. All right, so let's flip that definition into the world of street photography. So gesture would be the characteristics or the movements that we make unintentionally from the jump. Gesture really is like a flow that is unique to just us. I like to say that the DNA of our outward-facing self-expression starts with gesture. But you really can't force gesture onto your frame or into your frame. It just is, it just appears, it's just there. And that's what's so beautiful and fleeting about these moments. And only through repetition, patience, and practice can we actually hold on to a few of these beautiful moments. But what I also love about gesture is that we become more in tune about people and places and things that are around us. And in doing so, gesture begins to pop up more and more, giving more context to the stories that we're trying to create and share. And another cool thing about gesture is it doesn't just pertain to street photography. If you're into architecture, nature, portraiture, it doesn't really matter. Gesture is ever present, it is everywhere. Once you are aware of it, you cannot unsee it. And it really does elevate the image that you're trying to capture or create. And like most good work that you create, there is a formula, and that pretty much stays the same. Practice, assess, tweak, repeat. You do that and you're well on your way to creating images that have gesture in it because of repetition, just that actual hard work that you have to do to improve on the things that you want to improve on. Now with that said, let's dive into a few tips to help you spot gesture when you're out shooting and creating. All right, so number 1, look for different. See, I found if I prepared myself mentally to be on the lookout for interesting shapes, patterns, subjects, anything really, background, anything that's gonna stand out to me, I'm already halfway there. So when different slides into my frame, I'm prepared, I'm ready. Number 2, capture what moves you. Now this should go without saying, but I'll say it anyways. If you shoot what you love, then you will always create meaningful work. This is important when you're out there, cold weather, unforgiving circumstances. You want to be shooting stuff that actually moves you, resonates with you, connects with you. That's when you're going to make your best work. I don't know, life is just too short to be wasting frames on uninspired work. Number 3, anticipate what might happen. Now this is a tricky one because, we're going to miss way more than we hit. But when you hit, you will definitely know that you've hit. Try to envision how the scene may roll out and then study those results. So sometimes that means taking a few frames before, capturing the frame that you want, and then a few frames after. Even using burst. Give yourself permission to anticipate what might happen. And number 4, hold your spot. Now we spoke about this in a couple other videos. Once you're in a location, just try to hold tight. And it's really hard with street because we're so used to moving and action and motion. But the reality is sometimes the story's gotta come to you. You see, when you hold your spot, now you have time to study all the quirks, highlights, hidden gems, and shortcomings of that location. You really begin to understand the flow and the angles and the best position to set you up for success. So as you may or may not know, I love doing a question of the day. So for this video, I really want to know, how does gesture play a role in your photography? Does it? Does it not? Hit me up in the comments. I would really love to know where you sit with this. Okay, so when it comes to gesture, I have to say I was a late bloomer. I was super late to this. And not that I wasn't already shooting gesture in my images, but I wasn't aware that I was shooting gesture. Does that make sense? I was really, some photos had it, some photos didn't, but I didn't understand the importance of gesture. I was so focused on lighting and composition, which are huge, but I find that gesture doesn't get that love that it should, but that's really what's gonna elevate your photos from good to great, in my opinion. But what I love, and I said it earlier in the video, is it doesn't matter. It's not just for street photography. Gesture is everywhere. And now I see some of my older photos or some photos that I've just taken that it's architecture, it's just nature, but there is something about that tree, there's something about that wall, the way the rain's hitting that puddle. There's something that you find in that image that makes it special, and that is gesture. Alright, so that was a short one, but I hope you loved this week's video. Gesture is a huge part. I'm so glad that I touched on this topic. You know, hit me up in the comments below. I really want to talk about this more in depth, but it just came to my mind the other day. I was like, let's talk about this. This word just does not get enough love, and we all know it exists, but to talk about it is another whole thing. So I appreciate your time, and until the next video, stay creative and believe in yourself. Peace.